Hey guys, before I start the Cyberpunk video, I just wanted to take this time to introduce you to some of my new desk figures. So, this figurine here is known as Cygor. And as I was working on the Cyberpunk 2077 review, I went and was, shopping at Walmart. And I saw this guy and I was like, oh, this would be so awesome for the review. And it looks totally awesome. So, bought him. He's $20 at Walmart. And actually, it's not just him. There's like a whole set you can get, and each of them comes with a really cool poster, and they're highly detailed. And there is Cygor the gorilla. There is a shark, a robotic shark, a like mechanically enhanced snake, and a raptor as well. So that's really cool. Here on the back of the art, it says, Cygor is the pinnacle of robotic animal weapon labs science. He is the perfect combination of beast and machine. Designed as a test subject for Raw's newest cybernetic enhancements, Cygor exceeded his potential to become Raw's greatest success. His brute strength is augmented with metallic muscles, and his intellect, instincts, and reflexes are perfectly tuned with his built-in combat matrix. He was created to be a next-gen warrior. Now the perfect weapon is on the loose and out of control. And then it has a little thing for it. It says his code name is Cygor, species silverback gorilla, attacks, power slam, monkey punch, and rage attack. And then it has a little saying that he says, rule number 1, I rule. So a little bit of lore, world building goes on in the little universe that they've created here with these figurines. This is from McFarlane Toys. McFarlane Toys are the best action figures you can get. Super detailed, very well done. Todd McFarlane is the guy who is McFarlane Toys, but he also did the Spawn comic book and action figure line, and then he also did some of the Spider-Man comic book series way back when. So he is going to go right here. I think that looks good. Let me see. Yeah, he's going to go right there. And then I may adjust that later, but for now, that's where he's going to be. And then some of you may or may not know, but I have... I have a Captain America here. Everybody knows that. But some of you may or may not know, but before coronavirus hit, I occasionally would dress up as Captain America. I have a really cool metal shield. I have the suit that I spent a bunch of money on. It's a movie quality suit. I could use that in a movie, in a Marvel movie. I spent a lot of money for it, and it's very high quality. And I would go and put that suit on and go to hospitals and visit with sick kids, sick adults too, but I'd visit with patients, terminally ill patients, things like that. So somebody bought me this and sent it to me as a gift. So I have that for the channel now too, and that is going to sit right here. So that is totally awesome, my own little Captain America guy. So, all right, guys, without further ado, let's start this video. Cyberpunk 2077, developed by CD Projekt Red and published by CD Projekt, was the most anticipated game of 2020, and possibly the last decade. The anticipation for the game grew so great, in fact, that it would have been realistically impossible for developers to create a game that would meet everyone's expectations. My objective today is to set aside the controversy surrounding the game's release and take an unbiased look at the game and give it an honest review score. I'm Mike, and this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and today we are going to be taking a trip to Night City. CD Projekt Red has done a fine job of crafting a fast-paced, first-person shooter combat experience, along with gameplay mechanics that complement both the stealth and computer hacking aspects of the game. Combat within Cyberpunk is a culmination of multiple gameplay systems working together to create a unique experience. Those gameplay systems I'm talking about are, of course, gunplay, quick hacking, the progression system, crafting and modding, and also cyberware. The player is given quite a bit of choice in how combat can play out, and how you customize your character and your loadout meaningfully changes each encounter. The guns in Cyberpunk come in 3 different classes: power, tech, and smart weapons. Power weapons allow the player to ricochet bullets off surfaces. Players can also aim the ricocheting bullets if they have certain cyberware equipped. Tech weapons allow the player to charge their shot, so that way they can shoot through objects. Smart weapons can be used in conjunction with cyberware to allow players to automatically hit targets, even curving bullets around cover. The differences between weapon types basically comes down to the way in which they allow the player to deal with attacking enemies behind cover. And I have to say that for the most part, power weapons draw the short stick. While the ability to ricochet bullets sounds cool and can lead to some interesting gameplay, in fast-paced combat, it is much more often easier to charge a shot and shoot through cover than it is to line up a shot with the holographic indicators. As I delved deeper into the game's combat hacking system, known in-game as quick hacks, I thought of the original Watch Dogs game. While Watch Dogs failed to create a truly unique combat experience using hacking as a weapon, Cyberpunk succeeds. While I personally did not really get into quick hacking until later in the game, I highly encourage players watching this to check it out early on. Through hacking, the player is able to recon areas using cameras, much like in Watch Dogs, distract enemies by hacking machinery throughout the environment, and even attack enemies directly by hacking their cyberware to blind them, damage them, or even just shut them down completely. All of the hacking features especially complement stealth gameplay, allowing the player to remote take down entire buildings full of enemies from a safe distance. Other than combat hacking, the game also has an interesting hacking minigame that allows players to affect enemy security features and rewards the player with eddies and crafting components. This is not even everything that you can do with hacking in the game, and it all comes together to bring an extra dimension to combat that truly does separate this game from others in the first-person shooter genre. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk about with combat in this game is one of its most exciting features: cyberware weapons. Have you ever wanted to be a human weapon? A literal machine of death whose very body could kill? Well, here in Cyberpunk 2077, you can do just that. There are 4 types of cyberware weapons in the game: gorilla arms, mantis blades, the monowire, and the projectile launcher system. The gorilla arms act as a replacement of the character's fists, allowing you to perform super punches. This is particularly useful for doing non-lethal takedowns on enemies. The mantis blades are basically swords that, when deployed, resemble the raptorial arms of a praying mantis. When not being used, they are hidden within your character's arms. The monowire has the longest range of any melee weapon in the game, and has a wide attack arc, making it effective at attacking multiple enemies at once. Both the mantis blades and monowire are very effective at decapitating and dismembering enemies. The last, but surely not least of the cyberware weapons is the projectile launch system. It replaces the grenade slot and allows the player to fire missiles from a launcher embedded within their character's arm. The projectile launcher system also works with the Smart Leak cyberware enhancement. This ensures that you will hit enemies without needing to precisely aim the weapon. This weapon can be especially useful for melee weapon builds, as it will operate as a stand-in for traditional guns. All of the cyberware weapons in the game can be modified to change the type of damage that they do, such as fire damage or electrical damage. There are also other modifications that can be used to increase their effectiveness in different ways. Moving on to the special features in the game, I just want to say that Cyberpunk 2077 is a game with a lot of bells and whistles. All of the things that you can do, and every one of the gameplay mechanics being stacked and balanced on top of each other, creates gameplay that I would describe as dense. There is so much going on, and the player constantly has so many options for how to build their character and handle encounters in a way that is very rare to see. The game starts off with the player creating their character. The biggest thing to mention here is, of course, the much talked about addition of an option to customize your character's genitals, and the ability to make your character a man, woman, or anything in between. Along with the cyberware weapons, players can also customize their characters with a large selection of cyberware modifications that serve in more of a support role. There are 19 cyberware slots across 9 body systems, not including the cyberware weapon slot, that players can use when molding their characters. A few examples of these modifications include leg upgrades that significantly increase your jumping abilities, modifications to your frontal cortex that protect you from enemy hackers, upgraded optics, circulatory system upgrades that increase your stamina or health regeneration, immune system cyberware that gives you great defensive benefits. Many nervous system upgrades allow you to slow time in different situations, making it easier to attack enemies. Skeletal cyberware can increase your carrying capacity or overall health. And lastly, the integumentary system cyberware options give you access to different types of innate armor. All of these aren't even half of the cyberware options that the game gives you when exploring Night City. The game has a well-developed crafting and modding system, with players being able to craft and upgrade their own weapons and armor after finding the recipes, with higher level gear, either found or crafted, having better attributes and more mod slots. Players can also craft their own mods for weapons and armor. Throughout the world, players can find iconic gear. Iconic gear is one of a kind, cannot normally be crafted, and very often has special characteristics. Some iconic weapons appear on the walls of the arms room in V's apartment when stored there. The world of Cyberpunk has a wide variety of futuristic vehicles for the player to cruise around the streets of Night City in. Unfortunately, the game's driving mechanics are not put together very well, and most of the vehicles, except for motorcycles, feel weightless and cannot handle turns, often fishtailing unless you are moving very slowly. Prior to its release, I assumed that the game would basically be a first-person, futuristic version of Grand Theft Auto, but CD Projekt Red had different plans. Very early on, the player receives a car as a reward for a mission, and each vehicle that you own can be summoned to you. These two aspects of the game remove the need to steal cars like in GTA, although that is still an option. As you progress, you will periodically be contacted by various characters offering to sell you different vehicles. This is nice, but I highly encourage players to save their money, as there are plenty of very good vehicles offered as rewards for missions or even just found for free throughout the city. The wanted system in the game is where things truly depart from the GTA archetype. The AI of the police in the game is underdeveloped. When you commit a crime, police teleport in, rather than running up from a distance like in many other games. And it is too easy to escape, with the player often only needing to drive or even just run a few blocks to get the police to give up the chase. There is, however, a system in place much like in GTA, in which if you battle it out with the cops, they will continually send in harder and harder forces until you either die or run away. Now I'm going to go over the game's fairly complex progression system. I saved this part for last because it does take some time to explain. There are 5 attributes: body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool. Each attribute breaks down into separate skills with their own perk trees. Each time your character levels up, you will receive 1 attribute point and 1 perk point. Body increases your physical power and contains the Annihilation, Athletics, and Street Brawler skills, with the Annihilation skill governing shotguns and light machine guns. Reflexes increases your movement speed and agility. It contains the Rifle, Handgun, and Blades skills. Technical ability increases your mechanical prowess and contains the Engineering and Crafting skills. Intelligence increases your knowledge with computers and contains the Breach Protocol and Quick Hacking skills. Cool is your character's ability to stay calm under pressure and covers the Stealth and Cold Blood skills. Cold Blood offers up its own unique mechanics. When used, the character gains buffs for 10 seconds after killing an enemy. The buffs you receive depend on which perks you invest in, and the length of the buff can be extended by continuing to kill enemies in rapid succession. Each skill has its own individual level. Each time a skill is leveled up, characters either receive some type of bonus related to that skill or an additional perk point. Skills are leveled up by using related abilities or attacks, such as the Street Brawler skill being leveled up when players use blunt weapon attacks. Skills cannot level up beyond the level of their related attribute, so the Street Brawler skill level cannot exceed your character's strength level. Some perks, notably the last perk in each tree, require that the related skill reach a certain level before they can be purchased. The progression system may seem complicated, but in-game it's quite easy to pick up as you go and actually gives the game an advantage over its peers. Now we're going to move to the story. So the story in the game starts off with the player choosing a life path for their character between three options: Corpo, Street Kid, or Nomad. A life path that you choose changes your starting location and a little of your early game interactions, but does not influence the game's endings, of which there are multiple. Things really start to get going when you meet Jackie, a fellow citizen of Night City and a member of the criminal underworld, such as yourself. Jackie becomes your partner, and shortly after, you get a high-profile heist job that promises to make you both rich and famous among the criminals of the city. Things go awry with the heist, as the piece of technology that you are tasked with stealing is well guarded and belongs to the largest and most powerful corporation in the world. This is when you meet Johnny Silverhand, an artificial intelligence rebel rocker mercenary who offers you a chance to save yourself from the corporation's chasing after the stolen tech and become a legend of Night City in the process. The story beats of the game are well made and fit nicely into the setting of a corrupt futuristic city. This is where the game's strength truly shows itself, with top-notch writing, creating enjoyable dialogue, and interesting characters. The narrative of the game is realistic, with many of the characters showing themselves to be multidimensional, emotional, and often having sad backstories. The connection between you and Johnny Silverhand, who is the most prevalent NPC in the game, is done very well, and makes you think about your choices throughout the story. By the end of this game, you will feel like you have gone on a tragic journey with a partner that you genuinely care about. Within the final dialogue options of the game that determine its ending, you will feel the weight of the decisions that you have to make and the changes that they will bring for you and Johnny. So now it's time to talk about the hardest thing to talk about as part of the experience with this game. And that is the bugs and glitches and the problems that have come with the launch of the game. So, I am one of the lucky people that had a PS5 on day one. I had to wait outside of a GameStop for 8 hours to pre-order it, okay? And I did get a PS5 on day one and have only played Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS5. Now, having said that, optimization for the PS5 is much better than it is for the PS4. So a lot of the glitches that have been reported and that you probably have already heard about and seen, I actually did not deal with. But the biggest glitches that I dealt with that were most prevalent were not being able to pick up certain objects sometimes. And I've never had a problem where I couldn't pick up an object for a quest or a mission or anything. And I never had a problem where I couldn't pick up an object that was like an iconic weapon or something that was a big deal thing to not be able to get. The biggest ones I had were like small weapons that I would put my reticle over the weapon. It wouldn't, the toggle wouldn't come up for me to press the button and pick it up. Or like food items, miscellaneous objects, things like that. Another thing that I had was crashes. They weren't super frequent or anything to where they broke the game for me, but they did happen. And as they've patched the game so far, too, that's even gotten better. I don't remember the last time that I had a crash, but I know that I have had a crash since I have beaten the game with playing the post-campaign stuff. So do be warned that is out there when you're playing the PS5. Now, for the PS4, I'm going to tell you the way that you have to think about this game is when you have a PC, I have a custom built PC, and when I play certain high-end PC games, it'll say, hey, these are the minimum requirements. These are the minimum requirements. And if my PC does not meet those minimum requirements, let's say it's down here, when I go to play that game that requires this, and I only have this, well then there's going to be problems. And I'm going to kind of talk about it here in a minute, but basically, CD Projekt Red was not able to optimize the game in such a way for PS4 to where it, like the PS4 meets those system requirements for the game. So for PS4 people, I'm really sorry. You shouldn't play this game. Like, as far as I understand, it is completely broken, and at some point, I'm sure that they are going to patch it and make it better, but it really is broken for the PS4, from what I understand, because I have not played on the PS4. And I know some people have said that it's okay. Basically, it's luck of the draw. You might have a game that works, you might have a game that's totally broken. So I would just say, don't play it for the PS4. Just think of this as a PS5 game. They really should have only released it for PS5, but it came out right as we were transitioning from PS4 to PS5, so it was kind of an unlucky game. And actually, if it had only come out for PS5, come out a couple months later, or a year later even, and it only released on PS5, we would not be having a conversation, and there would not be any controversy behind this game, in my opinion anyway. I don't think so, because they wouldn't be having the issues they had. So I just want to talk about what I do here at Mike's After Action Reviews is, I play a game, I'll upload 100% of the gameplay, and then I write my script. Usually I don't look... So I actually, before the script is written, I never look at anybody's reviews. Sometimes, after the script is written and after I've recorded at least most of the review, I will... Well, first of all, I don't ever write exactly what I'm going to say, like script exactly what I'm going to say for the final review score. Like, I have my review score and I know what I'm going to say next as far as a review score, but I don't completely write out the whole thing. So that's unscripted anyway. But I do have some bullet points of what I want to say. But once I reach that point where I'm almost finished with the review and I've already got everything done and I've already decided, then I will sometimes go look at what other reviewers will say about a game. And not to and for one, I never change my review score and I never change my script or anything like that. But I just usually will look to see how they talk about the game. Not what they say about it, but how they actually go about talking about the game. Excuse me. And I did do that for this game because it's a high profile game, because it's so anticipated and comes from such a beloved studio. And what I found is that most people, instead of really reviewing the game, almost seem to, like, not really jump on a bandwagon, but everything comes back to the bugs and the glitches. Okay? And I'm telling you, my understanding is PC, if you have a good enough PC, you're good. As with any game. And if you have a PS5, you're good. If you have a PS4, don't play the game. Okay? But it all comes back around to that. And what I try to do here at what I do at Mike's After Action Reviews is I break it down into categories. Main gameplay core mechanic, which is, in this game, combat. Special features, which includes character customization, having vehicle, just the special features of the game that kind of make up the extra stuff that's not the core mechanic. And then the story. And while other reviewers have focused almost completely on the glitches and the problems that they've had with the game on the PS4, and some even on the PS5, don't get me wrong, I have looked at reviews and they have kind of neglected on actually looking at, like, the review of the game, like the actual review. And Angry Joe did a really good job. He did spend a sizable amount of time talking about the glitches and stuff, but I would think he did actually a really fair job and stuff like that. He's the big one that I know of, So I want to say that if you've seen his stuff, he does a fair job. But some people have really jumped on a bandwagon of just trashing the game because of the problems that happened when it came out. Here, when I'm honest and I'm trying to be unbiased and I look at it and I break it down into that, the combat was really good and really fun. And customizing your weapons and crafting weapons, customization, modding your gear, fun. really fun stuff. I think that the I have to really give props to Keanu Reeves for and the mocap, the motion capture people for really bringing Johnny Silverhand to life, because they are a big part of what made that character work and what made this whole game work. And then also just that kind of the dual-sided progression system, because in the progression system, something that almost nobody talks about is how awesome the progression system of this game is, in the way that you have traditional gaming progression in which you kill an enemy and get experience, and when you level up you can spend points on your character. And then you also have almost what I would say is the Elder Scrolls way of leveling your character up, where you have skills that you use, and as you use them you gain experience for the skill, and then when you level up the skill you get like a point or a bonus towards using that skill. They have and no one has talked about this that I've heard of, but they have combined those two systems together to make a really awesome, unique progression system for the game. And I'm so happy with that. And it allows you to hit the level cap, but then with your skills you can gain perk points. You can have more. The level cap is 50. You can have more than 50 skills, way more than 50 perk points. So all of those things put together, and considering the problems that the game does have, I have to say that this is a high above average game. Almost excellent game. Almost excellent. That writing and that combat are awesome. But when you think about things, the thing that really brings the game down is, of course, the crashes. So all I can do is look at what I have played and what I've seen, and rate the game on that. I'm not considering content that was cut, because it's not there. I can't look at it. And I'm not considering glitches that I didn't have. Although I do take in consideration that they are there for people. So I do. That's why I warned you earlier. So those two things I can't really, speak on. But I can tell you that what is here is very, very good. But the issues of like the driving system not working so well. Driving around in the game kind of sucks unless you're driving around on a motorcycle. And the glitches that I did have kind of suck. And I did have some other issues with some of the things that went on with the game. But I will say that I just really think that this game could have been excellent if those glitches weren't there. And also if some of the cut content, such as, like being able to have multiple apartments, the special unique characteristics for the cyberware weapons, such as gorilla arms, being able to rip turrets out of the ground or rip doors open, that was supposed to be in the game. And each of the cyberware weapons was supposed to have its own unique characteristic. Like Mantis Blades was to stick to walls, things like that. That would have made this an excellent game. And there was so much more stuff, too, that they could have added. And it may be coming, but we'll see what happens. But right now, this is a high above average game. And I hope you agree with me. I hope that you can objectively look at actually the core aspects of the game and agree with me that they add up to an above average game. And I'm just telling you, don't play it on the PS4 because it just doesn't work. So there's my review, guys. Above average game, and thank you all for watching. Hey guys, I hope that you really enjoyed that video, and I just want to say that I actually am so glad to be done reviewing Cyberpunk 2077. With, being delayed because of having to move, and then also just the build-up of what everybody else thinks about the game. Like I said, I haven't really been following other people's reviews, but, I've seen the memes. I know, people have some strong feelings about this game, but truthfully I did really have fun, and I'm going to continue to play it, and I'm going to play it again, because that progression system, the customization, all of those things are just a really good time. But I really do hope that you enjoyed my review of the game, and even if you don't agree, and you hate the game, good, that's good for you. You can have your opinion, but I do appreciate it if you've made it this far, at least listening to mine. So glad to be done. Now I've moved on to Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood, so I'm going to be live streaming that. I've already started live streaming it. I had to take a break from live streaming to finish this review. And then I'm going to do a review of that one, and depending on how long the game... I think the game is going to be shorter, so it might be a rapid action review. And then, we're just going to be moving on from there with, I forget what I have next, but I have a whole list of games I'm going to be playing throughout the year. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for watching. God bless you all, and have a good night.